Hey guys, Hikari here, and what a chapter Black Clover this week. The chapter starts off with us basically getting a quick explanation of Asta's Devil Union, and they tell us that it can cancel out magic and it's very overwhelming in combat, but he can only really use this form for about 10 minutes before he consumes all of his anti-magic. But Astas actually found a solution to this problem during his time skip, and he's actually able to use a partial mode where he focuses his anti-magic on one single point and can kind of unleash it for way longer, extending that time to 10 minutes. We see that he unleashes an attack on Lucius, but it literally doesn't do anything. He's able to easily teleport out of the way, and he still has that super menacing grin on his face, so it's kind of showing people that really think that Asta could get out of this situation pretty easily, like any of his other situations. That isn't going to be the case going on in this fight, and we see that at the end of the fight this week. But I definitely did not think for a second that Asta was going to be able to actually do any damage or really harm Lucius in this fight. Lucius is just way too calm for that. We also then get the narration of the chapter, and it's basically telling us that magic that manipulates time is actually invincible, and that there really isn't anything in the world that can really defy that other than anti-magic, and that's why Lucius is so adamant on getting Asta out of here, since Asta is theoretically the only person that can really harm his plans. Lucius then, after touching Asta and nothing happens, realizes that he isn't going to be able to touch him and use his own magic, so he realizes that he's going to have to switch to actual physical type attacks, which is exactly what was happening when he was fighting Lucifero, or when Asta was fighting him. And he realizes this, he notices that he's trying to switch to physical combat just like he was, so Asta begins to get more serious and more relentless in his attacks, and we see that he's setting up different combinations to try to catch Lucius off guard, but Lucius is still kind of evading everything. He hasn't really gotten hit yet, but Asta's saying, you know, he can do this. He's going to be able to actually maybe fight off Lucius, and that's where Lucius says that, as expected, you're a force that threatens the peace of this world, and he says, however, as long as I'm here, I won't let you do so. And we see this is where he starts to actually transform, and he says that he was born into a family of devil hosts, and that by purifying that devil's power, he's able to bring out something sacred in it. And we see that he has a new form that looks very similar to not even really a devil, but more like an angel. Asta even reacts to the key, saying that it's not necessarily a human, but it's also not necessarily a devil. So I think this is kind of confirming that maybe there is a separate species in the world of Black Clover that is actually angels, and that they're going to maybe influence the story moving forwards or something. But it's definitely not like his key is that of a devil or a human at the very least. So there's something that's really going on, and he's honestly actually changed like his whole being, I'm assuming, if he's able to go from maybe a human or a devil that Asta's feeling to an actual thing that isn't any of those two. So maybe this really is 100% confirmation that angels exist in some capacity in the world of Black Clover. After changing into this new form, we see that he actually loses sight, or Asta loses sight of him pretty fast, and he's able to just completely teleport out of his range of vision, and he isn't even able to really track him when he teleports. But we see that he actually moves towards Sister Lily, and he's already standing behind her. And Asta's reacting to this, saying, you know, sister, and she's saying Asta back, and we see that they both have very scared looks on their faces. And he starts to mention what his innate magic is, and this is the first time that we get like full-on confirmation of what Lucius's innate magic ability is, and his magic is soul magic, and that he can transform the soul of anyone that he touches, and that the soul is the source of humans' life, mind, and magic. And I think the implications of this are pretty big. If he's able to change the soul and also change how their magic works with it, I wonder what the upper limit of this, like, could he actually change like their magic type completely, maybe turning, like, for example, Sister Lily, could he like give her like fire powers instead of her water? Is he able to kind of give her more like complex magic types than that? Like, the implications of soul magic is just so great, and the fact that he has access to that on top of already having gravity magic from Lucifero and time magic, like, it really does put him over the edge in terms of what he can use. And it really does show that if Asta can't take him down, then there really is nobody else that I think theoretically can. Even Yuno, I don't know how Yuno would deal with somebody like that. You really do need anti-magic, and if Asta can't do it, then who is going to be able to? And I feel like that's kind of like what he's kind of going for right now, the story. He kind of wants to put Asta and everybody kind of in despair, because if Asta can't do it, who's going to be able to take him down? And I think everybody's going to kind of feel that. Getting back into the actual chapter though, Asta reacts to this by saying, you know, what are you doing? And he realizes in mind that he could use his demon slasher, but it's not going to really reach in time. And if he tries to use the demon dweller, he's actually going to hurt Sister Lily also. So he's kind of in a conundrum where he can't really do anything at the moment. And this is where Lucius basically tells him to allow me to show you a truly happy human, and Asta can't do anything but just say stop. And we see that he's actually touching Sister Lily, and he transforms her into this angelic kind of looking being, and it seems like she has like horns or something on her head, and she starts to tell Asta, you know, to die for the sake of world peace. And Asta just can only react with a very sad face. He looks very scared that Sister Lily was actually transformed. And another thing I want to get into before we get that is the fact that Lucius says that he wants to transform the entire world with body, bone, blood, and all of that. And he's going to use his sisters or his siblings' magic to do that. And I think it's very important that we have those three, body, bone, and blood. But technically we didn't have souls for those humans. So now the fact that we figure out that he has soul magic and he actually can give souls to those new bodies, I think that's very important. That's kind of cool, just showing how all of the siblings really are the perfect candidates. The perfect candidates, somehow they were all born with magic that would perfectly give him the chance to actually transform all of humanity with undying bodies and make them all into, I'm assuming, beings like this. But I guess this shows that Sister Lily's soul is changed, but she doesn't have that undying body that he wants everybody to have. But it just really is insane, showing that he somehow was born into a family that just had all of the perfect types of magic that he needed to enact his plans. And I think that's very important going forward, that we know he has soul magic. Going forward in the chapter though, we see that he literally karate chops Asta in the chest, and it goes very deep into his chest. Like, this isn't just a flesh wound, this isn't just on the surface, this looks very deep. And he just tells him, oh, you fragile soul, you can't beat me the way you are right now. And he says, farewell, Flob the world. And this is where the chapter actually ends off this week. It just ends off with Asta on the floor, seemingly very injured, and Sister Lily has actually been transformed. So we're going to have to wait till next week to see what happens. And this is very insane. This is very high stakes, and I do just love the fact that he actually has soul magic to kind of complete the whole body transformation and show that he really is serious about changing the entire world into these beings. But I think it's also just crazy the fact that we kind of got confirmation that maybe angels do exist to some capacity in the world of Black Clover, and it seems like he's trying to make humanity into maybe a vision of the angels. And maybe we're probably going to maybe even find out about actual angels in the story that maybe will kind of weigh on how they feel about the whole situation. But I think it's just very cool, and this was a very good chapter this week, and I really do want to know what everybody thought of the chapter. I thought it was amazing, but definitely let me know what you thought of the chapter in the comments. Also, like the video if you liked it, and subscribe, as it really does help me out, and I really do appreciate each and every one of you guys for sticking around and giving the video a watch. Also, follow my socials, follow my TikTok and my Twitter, as I'm going to be posting a lot of short videos on my TikTok. But thank you for watching, and I'm out. Peace.